if your goal is to be the best wrestler you're going to be, then you're going to need the best strength and conditioning program. And what I'm going to try to do real quick is give you like the top 2 or 3 secrets that I believe most wrestlers are leaving on the table. They're not capitalizing on these secrets. So let's go over those real quick. And of course, in the strength and conditioning world, they're well known. But time and again, I can walk into a wrestling club, a wrestling school environment, a training environment, and they're not utilizing these things. They're not goals. They're not targets. You can just tell by their day-to-day activities. And the first thing as an elite athlete that you need to understand, it has to be in your head when you're programming, when you're making technique decisions, is the power equation. Okay, a lot of people have like a definition for power, and sometimes it's way off. They just think it means to explode, to do something very strong, do a strong movement. But it's actually a mathematical formula, and it's work divided by time. Okay, and work is force times distance. Okay, so work divided by time. If you know this and you know how to exploit this formula, you know how to utilize it in your training all the time, then you're going to take your strength and conditioning program to the highest levels. Okay, because first of all, any goal you have can be achieved by focusing on power and increasing power. Okay, you want to get stronger, increase power. Okay, you want to lean out, you want to lose fat, increase power. And we're talking both power per repetition. So if I do a 1 rep max bench press, it's going to take me maybe 3 seconds. It's going to be a slow lift. Okay, there's power being displayed there because there's a unit of time and there's a load on the bar. Say there's 400 pounds on the bar. It's going to take 3 seconds to get that thing up. 400 divided by 3 is my power for that 1 rep. Okay, but what you also have to take deep consideration is your conditioners. They need to be measured just as meticulously as your heavy lifts. You got to know exactly the load, the reps, the time, the distance, and you can actually figure these things out even like with a pull-up or a bench press. I'm moving it a couple feet up and down, so I can calculate the distance if I want to. You got your power output and you got your time, and what we can do here with our conditioners is graph them. Each one has its average power output. So you're going to get a bunch of 20-minute conditioners and find its average power output, which say it's like 150. Ding, 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 ding. You got a bunch of data there. And because 15 minutes is shorter, the data it'll rise a little bit, and it'll rise a little bit, and it'll rise a little bit on your 501, a bunch of workouts, some sporadic ones in between, then you got your curve. Okay? For elite athleticism, we're trying to increase the area of this curve. Because when you're out of shape, you're weak, and you have no skills, you're a poor mover. Everything you do demonstrates bad positioning of the knees, the core, the hips, the ankles, the arms. Your thrusters are ugly, your cleans are ugly, your snatches are ugly, your back squats, front squats, bench press, deadlift, they're all wobbly, unbalanced, and ugly. You're not going to be able to put up a good score when it comes to average power output across these time domains. Okay? And a poor, untrained athlete that never does these things is going to have this kind of average power curve. Who do you think's the better wrestler? The guy with this curve or the guy with this curve? What happens a lot is the guy with this curve can defeat a lot of wrestlers who actually have better wrestling technique, okay? But they don't have better movement technique. They're not better athletes. They don't push, pull, hip hinge, run, jump better. So the guy who is significantly better on this curve than this guy, he'd say this guy has 8 years of wrestling, this guy only has 4, this guy could still defeat that guy. It happens. Not saying it always happens, but it does happen. This overcompensates for its lack of wrestling skill. But in a perfect world, and that's what we shoot for, that's what our system does, it balances the two. We have this huge power curve, okay, and then the wrestling matches it. His wrestling ability matches that curve too. Okay, so they're both high level. All right, so that's the first thing you got to understand is the power curve. How do we increase work over time? Okay, you do things faster, or you do it with a heavier weight and at the same time. All right, and that requires that everything be in play. You have to have everything dialed in to increase that power number. Your sleep, your nutrition, your technique and skills. Okay, you got to have the strong muscle tissue. You gotta have the strong muscles. We're not saying that's not a thing. Okay, so uh, that's the first formula. That's the secret. Is every decision in your strength and conditioning program revolves on increasing your average power output. All right, and to increase the average power output, you need to be aware of how the human body works, how it creates power. It creates power through torque. Okay, every technique, every skill we do in wrestling and in our strength and conditioning movements revolves around this idea right here. Once you understand torque, then you understand the reasons why coach is saying keep that barbell close, keep that wrestler close, step here, position your feet like this. Okay, because it's going to be infinitely easier to execute the movement because you're going to produce more torque. All right, so simply illustrated by a deadlift. Okay, I'm leaning forward. The guy who allows the bar to drift away and create distance between the primary mover, which is your hips, right, and the barbell, is going to bleed torque. Okay, I think that's easy to understand. You can feel that if you let the bar swing away and then try to finish, it gets harder. You can see that in a dumbbell raise. I can dumbbell raise 20 pounds, which is going to smoke that shoulder pretty good. But if I do a curl like this and keep it close, I could do 50 or more at the same number of reps because I have better torque doing it like this. All right, so we're going to produce better torque by focusing on skills. That's huge. It's like when people ask me about strength and conditioning, that their mind goes straight to putting on muscle, building stronger muscles, and or a stronger heart and lungs, better cardio. Okay, where they should, and this is the big secret, they should go straight for the skills. What skills are they going to learn? Because once you become a good mover, a highly skilled mover, and you learn and you understand, I need to keep this bar swept close to the body through the whole deadlift. Literally, when you hit a deadlift, I'm going to ask you to sweep that bar back. It's going to be behind the shoulders a little bit. It's never going to be straight down underneath your shoulders. It's going to be swept back close to the body. Whereas a deadlift, clean, or a snatch, there's going to be a little bit of sweep there. Okay, that's to produce more torque. So what happens through my system, through the process of going from zero to becoming a great mover, is you learn all these little mechanics, all these little skills. They get permanently imprinted into your nervous system, and then you're doing them automatically on the wrestling mat. And that's where the real gold is. Not primarily because, I got bigger muscles. No, it's because you're a way better mover now. and you can actually overcome somebody who has bigger muscles, that's not a good mover. Okay, so those are the secrets. If you focus on this, if you go down the rabbit hole, do a deep dive on these two things, increasing your average power output, and that's simply by measuring everything you do. Always measuring your conditioners, doing purposeful conditioners with the most crucial movements that build the skills that you need to move better on the mat. All right, increase your average power output on those, and increase your skill, your technique. Focus on skills. Always trying to improve torque. Okay, everything revolves around those two things.